and the narcissist. Don't you ever think, like, why doesn't anything bad ever happen to the narcissist? Isn't it time for karma to work on them? Let's break this down in this video. I know it doesn't ever seem fair. I've been dealing with narcissists probably my whole life. I have helped many thousands of people as an attorney, as a coach, with my programs. I have a high conflict negotiation certification course. And beautiful souls, let's talk about karma. So, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Rebecca Zung. I am an attorney. I am a best-selling author. I have all sorts of things for all of you guys. If you're new, please subscribe, hit that notification bell. And I know so many of you are like, it's just not fair, right? And I've always said, like, there's no like narcissism fairies that like jump out in the middle of your living room or wherever you are and go, hey, you can't do that. What are you doing? Like, it's not like karma happens like immediately, right? And stops you. And I've always said, as a lawyer, I always used to say, well, the only person who has any power over anybody is a judge. And even then, people don't always heed court orders, right? I mean, that happens all the time. Like, there's contempt motions out there or whatever. And even then, it doesn't always happen. I mean, people have to pay fees. So, what about karma and the narcissist? So, I mean, I think of the term karma in the sense of like, not necessarily even like this mystical force, even though it could be, but I kind of think of karma in the sense of like a natural consequence of their behavior because it always ends up happening. They do always unravel, and it ends up where you do see that they end up kind of getting the natural consequences of their own behavior. And the person who moves on and really reclaims their life and begins to stand in their own authentic power and breaks free and becomes who they're meant to be, that's the true karma of it all. I love the analogy of the Wizard of Oz, frankly. I mean, I've always go back to the Wizard of Oz because that whole story is so perfectly crafted for narcissism. If you think about like the Wicked Witch and you think about the wizard and you think about Dorothy and you think about the Lion and the Tin Man and Glinda, all of those players really play such perfect parts for this. And if you think about how Dorothy was like searching for herself. And in some ways, she was like the empath who was like searching for something outside of herself and wanting to be validated and wanting to be finding this person. And really, it's the same thing with all of her friends. The cowardly lion was so fearful, and the Tin Man was looking for his heart, and the Scarecrow was looking for a brain. And so like they were all like searching for something outside of themselves. And so they're like, oh, let's go find this wizard. He's going to help us. And by the way, there's this wicked witch who's like horrible and attacking them. And who's like the bully, right? And who does the wicked witch have around them? The flying monkeys who are reporting back to her and smearing, right? And then who's helping, right? It's Glinda. Glinda, the good witch, who knows who she is the whole time. She's standing in her authentic power. She's nonplussed by all of them. And so when the Wicked Witch comes around her, even right at the beginning, she was like, go away. You have no power here. So the Wicked Witch was totally stayed away from her. You notice that she had respect for her, right? Because she knew who she was. Glinda knew who she was right from the beginning. She had complete and total authentic power. She was aligned with that source energy, who she knew who she was. So they finally get to Emerald City. This guy who's a complete total narcissist, right? He's layering on all this stuff. He's got to have this big house, this big thing. He's got this outside persona, which is exactly what narcissists do. They've got this outside persona this sort of representative of themselves, but inside, who are they? Scared, feeble little people, which is exactly what this was. The man behind the curtain, nothing to see here. That's what a narcissist really is. And at the end of it, they figured out who they truly were. All of them. I always had it. I always had the heart. I always had the brain. I always had courage. I always had who I was. I always was home, but we had to learn it for ourselves. And Glinda tells them, you always had to learn it for yourself. But what happened with the Wicked Witch? She got her karma. She had the natural consequence of what happened. She ended up just kind of melting into the ground because Dorothy had it. And so, what happens with narcissists is they end up having to be alone. They end up being in isolation. They end up still living in fear. They end up having to move on from people to people. They don't have true connection. They don't have true relationships. They don't have real lives because people won't stay with them. People won't end up having real relationships with them. People will see that they're liars. People will see the true nature of who they are eventually. The people who move on from them, who become the true, real versions of themselves, who learn from it and who evolve and realize, oh my gosh, I was able to live through that. And I'm actually so much stronger as a result. And now I can actually help others. They become so much better as a result. You hear so often what goes around comes around. And it's so true. You reap what you sow. And, one of my favorite songs is The End by the Beatles, which was actually their last song on their last album. It was the song written by Paul McCartney, where the line says, "And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make." I'm actually getting the chills as I say this. But it's so true. If you don't give love, you're not going to get love. They're not going to be able to receive if they're not giving. They end up basically alone. And you can't help them with that. I know I see you empaths out there going, oh, that's so sad. No, they manifest what they've put out into the universe. It's just a law of physics, basically, right? I mean, it's a law of physics. That's really the way I see it. It's not even necessarily this woo woo stuff. To me, if you don't give, you're not going to be able to receive. I think that if you focus on your own growth, your own empowerment, and you prioritize your own self worth, you prioritize your own assertiveness, you align yourself with your source energy, your highest, truest self, your authentic self. You get into the flow of the vortex of that. And then you realize that the narcissist is going to be exposed as to who they truly are. That's the true karma of it. That's when karma results. I mean, I teach it all in my high conflict certification program because you are best served to help the person that you used to be. And that's how you can coach people in high conflict negotiation. You can help them through high conflict conversations. You can help them through negotiations. You can help them and help them become resilient, help them focus on getting exceptional results, but also help them through that fear, lead them to becoming their highest best selves. Meanwhile, the narcissist is going to stay over there in their isolation and, potentially removal from organizations or divorce or whatever it is, while you help people with compassion, with wisdom. It's amazing, right? Put amazing in the comments because that's what the amazing part of is. That's where it's magical. You are on that journey. If you weren't on that journey, you wouldn't be here right now. You are where you are meant to be. Let's talk about what happens with a narcissist realizes that life sucks without you. It's kind of a funny thing because, I've dealt with narcissists in my life, unfortunately, which is why I have such a huge mission for this. I've dealt with them in my law practice, but I also dealt with them in my personal life. And so that's why I know and I understand the drama, trauma, and chaos they cause. And here's the narcissist paradox. That is that they treat you like crap, like the whole time they're doing all kinds of horrible things to you, very abusive, mind games, passive aggressive, actually aggressive, the whole time. And then you are finally like running away from them and try to get the hell out of there just to like save your sanity and preserve your soul. And then they turn around and they go, oh, why did they leave? Oh, I can't actually live without them. I need them back. And so what happens when they realize that life sucks without you? Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you all of this, but I want you to know that you don't go back there. I mean, if you've successfully gotten the key, the golden ticket, and you're out of there and they're leaving you alone, thank Jesus and never look back. That's where everybody wants to get to, honestly. I mean, you don't want them back in your space. They haven't changed no matter what it is that they say. They haven't changed. So don't go running back to them. All right. So let me just say that at the beginning. Like, they haven't changed. They're not going to, regardless of what they say or do, just leave it alone. Okay. But now what's happened? You're gone. You're not coming back. They realize you're not looking back. You have wiped them from the CPU of your life, which is what I tell you to do all the time. And now you've actually taken away their source of oxygen. You've taken away their source of food. And that's what we call narcissistic supply. They need an endless amount of supply in order to feel validated, to feel alive. And if they're not going to get it from you in the form of adulation or you slaving away, doing things for them and, making them look good, prestige, some form of value that way, then they're going to get it from you, from devaluing you, debasing you, treating you poorly. They literally do get off on that. And so when they realize that you're not coming back and that source of supply isn't there anymore, they're going to go through these stages. It's almost like stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining, and then maybe acceptance, but probably never really fully accepting. I heard it described one time that they want to keep all of their sources of supply almost like people save up jam or something for the winter or something, like people who have jams and jellies and things and or sauces or whatever for the winter. That's what they do. Like they have a source of supply over here, but they also want the source of supply over there and they want it from over here. They really are supply whores. So they're hoping that you'll still be a source of supply for them, if not to bolster up their ego, at least to bang you around and manipulate you and cause you drama, trauma, and chaos, at least to do that. I mean, here's the thing. They completely took you for granted while you were around. They treated you poorly. They thought it was funny when they got away with doing things with you, and yet they somehow thought that you'd always be around. They somehow thought that you'd, you know, keep allowing that to happen. I just think they don't think it through. They don't think forward and think, well, this person might actually not want to stick around if I treat them badly. Um, because there's another little paradox that's going on here, which is that they have this massive fear of abandonment. They don't want to be abandoned. They don't want you to actually leave. And they do happen to collapse, sometimes, which I definitely check out my video on that. What happens when a narcissist collapses? It ain't pretty. Um, but so they have this fear of abandonment. But okay, so once you leave, at first, they're going to line up their flying monkeys. They're going to try to get everybody to triangulate because they're still getting supply from all of this, right? So let me show you how I can make you miserable. Let me show you how I can do all of these things to you, and line up people against you and make you jealous and all of this. So they're going to start with that. And then the next thing they're going to go into is try to retaliate against you, and try to, their rage is going to come out, and so they might try to, blow up your phone and text you 5,000 times and flood you with messages or stalk you, and they may desperately try to get you back through love bombing or hoovering. Like I said, they want to keep all forms of supply. And so they're going to try to figure out a way to get you back into that web. So they might even file lawsuits to get your attention, to try to scare you. You're not going to walk away from me so easily. And, you definitely want to check out my video on what happens when you go silent on a narcissist, by the way. But then they realize eventually you're not coming back. That's when they're going to struggle. They're not going to have remorse for you and the things that they did for you, to you, but for themselves. Because at that point, they're going to realize, they loved that support that you gave them. They needed that. They needed your emotional support. They needed you to do the work for them or make them look good, or your whatever contributions you were giving them, whether it's your money or your sex or your ideas or your prestige or whatever it was that you were, the reason why they attached themselves to you in the first place. They're going to realize that it's gone. And they're going to be, upset about that, but not because they miss you. It's because they're going to miss what you were doing for them. Remember, I always say they didn't attach themselves to you because you have so little value, even though that's how they treated you. They attach themselves because you have so much value. So then what they're going to start doing is they're just going to start like continuing to watch you. They will always be watching you. They'll always be stalking your social media or trying to see what it is that you're up to. It's just so creepy. By the way, if you think they're so creepy, give me a so creepy down in the comments. They're always watching you. I do have a video on that, by the way, like why the narcissist is always watching you, because they're so creepy like that. And they may begrudgingly, by the way, move on. They're going to try to find another source of supply. They have to slither on down the road and find another source of supply, because that's what they feed on. Otherwise, they don't feel alive. So they will go try to find another source of supply, but they're going to miss the supply they were getting from you, especially if it was really good. So they'll keep watching, they'll keep comparing, they'll look to see if you have something new or something better. They love to compare. Narcissists are big on comparing. And if you do have something better or bigger or whatever, it's totally going to kill them. They'll be super jealous. They will hate that, and they'll be stewing. But you will no longer care, right? Because it doesn't matter. Because as long as you care what they think or what they say or what they do, you're going to be completely tied to them still. And vibrationally, they're going to feel that. So wipe them from the CPU of your life. You no longer care. You've moved on. Just keep walking and do not look back. Today, you are going to learn how to scare that narcissist away. I hate bullies, don't you? Because, I was bullied as a kid and then I dealt with narcissists, and I keep narcissists away because I don't want them in my space. The place you really want to get to, by the way, is what I always say is like Glinda the Good Witch. Glinda the Good Witch, who at the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, when the Wicked Witch came flying around her, she was like, go away. You have no power here. Skidaloo, moving along. And you know what? That Wicked Witch was like, get away from her, right? That's what you want. That's where you're heading. That's what you want to get to. You want to be like that, so powerful that they're like a gnat flying around. How do you get to that place? And I can tell you that the way you get to that place, you want to be in your authentic power. Now, how do you get there? By understanding who you are authentically, by knowing that you have that power. What do? They blur boundaries, right? So the first thing you got to do is you got to set boundaries. You got to have that power move. I always say step 1, don't run. Step 2, make a U-turn. Step 3, break free. So you're turning a ship around. You are 180 degrees because the first thing they do is blur boundaries. They're coming in with that love bombing. Whether it's a professional relationship or a personal relationship, they're coming in. And even when you try to say, oh, let's slow down. Why should we slow down? It's all going great. The minute you try to set boundaries, they're in there. They don't want you to have boundaries. They thrive on blurring boundaries and trampling over your sense of self. The minute you try to say, no, this isn't working for me, I can't breathe, let's slow down. Why slow down? It's all going great. We're all here. Let's do it now. They don't want you to be able to breathe. They don't want you to be able to think. The key to starting to scare them away is to start setting those rock solid boundaries and saying, listen, I deserve respect here and I'm standing up for myself, and enforcing those boundaries with unwavering resolve. And that means, period, end of story, no matter what the boundary is, period. So if you say, I need this by Thursday at noon, then 12:01 comes and it's like, where is it? You've got to be that to the letter. Because the minute you let something slide, that's when they start to go, well, I'm getting away with this, right? And it's the same thing. If you are in a court case with them, they pride themselves on looking for places to slip and slide all over the place. They'll give you everything as far as bank statements in discovery except for page 12. They love to just irritate you. That's what they'll do. They'll look for ways to undermine you. They'll look for ways to be passive aggressive. And you've got to not allow them to undermine you. If they try to steal your ideas, you can say that was my idea, or this was a product of collaboration. If you're at work, if somebody is crossing your boundaries at work, I value collaboration, but I won't tolerate disrespect. I mean, you can say things in a way that is assertive but not aggressive. It's always okay to assert yourself and just say, I want to be respected. Narcissists respect people who respect themselves, and they don't go near people who respect themselves. These are the people that they don't go looking to go around. That's a way to scare a narcissist away. They prey upon the people who have vulnerabilities. That's who they look for. They look for the people who they can manipulate, who they know have those places that are open. So, if you're dealing with a family member who constantly crosses boundaries, you can assertively communicate to them by saying, I understand your concerns, but I need my personal space. But let's focus on finding common ground. If you are getting ready to negotiate with a narcissist, please get my free Crush My Negotiation Prep Worksheet at winmynegotiation.com. It's 15 pages. It has helped so many people win their negotiations. So make sure you get that, winmynegotiation.com. Next thing you can do is mirror their behavior. This is how you turn the tables, okay? Narcissists feed off of energy from people around them, especially when they're assertive and confident. So if you can make sure that you aren't mousy, stand up to them. They're more afraid of you than you are of them. If you refuse to engage in manipulative games and just say, I can see that you're upset, but I'm not going to engage in this right now. We can continue this conversation when you've calmed down. Not allowing, you can respond, don't react. Observe, don't absorb. If they try to bait you, if they try to trigger you, they go fishing and they reel you in, and then they go, "Ooh, I got a live one." And then there you are. You're in it. Don't allow them to do that. Just say no. Put that in the comments. Just say no. Right? And then join my free private Facebook group while you're at it. Okay? Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. Put it in the comments below. Practice self-care. You can get the good people around you that you need to have around you. When you're dealing with narcissists, self-care isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. You need to nourish your mind, your body, your soul. That's why you put that invisible bubble down around you. I have a guy who works on my team, and his name is Tom, and he calls himself Teflon Tom. I love that. So good. It's a great way for you to remember Teflon down around you. Mindfulness, journaling, anything that's going to bring you joy and raise your vibrational energy. So important. Join online communities like mine. That's why I started my high conflict negotiation certification, because I wanted people to have access to great communities. Reach out to family members, friends. Get the support that you need. You want to be treated with dignity. You want to be treated with respect. You want all of your interactions to be here, because then what happens is they're no longer getting supply from you. And when they're no longer getting supply from you, then they're not going to come back for you anymore. That's when they're going to just ease on down the road. And that's the true way to scare that narcissist away. And obviously, when you're negotiating with them, you have to be involved. But when you go to build leverage, the whole point of it is to build leverage so that you are sucking away that form of supply. You're just basically taking away that energy source, that supply source that they're getting from you. That's what you want to do. You want to just sort of like you're sucking energy out of the room for them, because then they'll just go get it from somewhere else. That's what you want to do. In the process, you're bringing back your own energy to yourself and authentic power to yourself. Now, if you are dealing with a narcissist, then that narcissist is probably driving you crazy, or actually maybe even feeling like insane. And you're thinking, is there any way to make them panic? Yes, there is. But first, let me just go through a couple of the things that they do to you, because it's important to understand that so that you can understand the flip side of it and what makes them panic. So a couple of their go-to things are things like gaslighting. Gaslighting is trying to make you think that you're crazy. And what they do is they'll say, "Oh, we talked about that," or "Don't you remember that?" or "No, that's not how that went." Something like that. And shifting what they said, shifting what you guys talked about, shifting what you said, so that it meets their agenda, which is to manipulate you and to make you think that you're crazy. So gaslighting is definitely one of their favorite tactics. Another one of their favorite tactics is lying. They are total pathological liars. The crazy thing I think about narcissists is that they'll lie about stuff that they don't even need to lie about. You think to yourself, why are you lying about that? You don't even need to lie about that. But the thing is that narcissists think that they need to manipulate everything. They don't believe that they can get anything just in a normal way. They feel like they have to lie. So they will lie about even things that are readily verifiable, which is the thing that's pretty crazy. And in a lot of my other videos, I talk about making sure that you document everything that you do, because they will eventually contradict themselves. They will eventually put things in writing that are completely contradictory to what is actually happening or what they have said before. Now, they'll have some explanation for it, but that doesn't mean that you won't eventually be able to use it against them. Okay, so number two thing that they do on a very regular basis is lie. The third thing they try to do a lot of is intimidation tactics. So what I mean by that is that they will constantly try to make you be afraid. So they intimidate you in all sorts of ways. You're afraid that they're going to hurt you. They're afraid they're going to expose you. You're afraid that they're going to take your kids. They're very, very, very good at figuring out what your weaknesses are, what means the most to you, and that's what they'll go for. So if you're a mother and you don't want to lose your kids, they'll say, I'm taking the kids and you'll never see your kids again. If you are dependent upon this person for support, they'll say, I'm going to take everything and leave you in the street. If you want money from this person, then they'll use that against you. So whatever they can use against you, they will, and they'll scare you into thinking like, oh my God, my life is going to be so terrible if I cross this person. And there's all different types of intimidation tactics that they use. Some are more violent than others. If they're more of a malignant type of narcissist, some of them are a little bit more stealth if they're like a covert narcissist. But, all narcissists use the same kinds of tactics. For the most part, gaslighting is definitely one, lying is definitely one as well, and intimidating you in some ways is one as well. And another thing that they often try to do is triangulate. This is where they get their flying monkeys involved, and they get you to believe that all these other people have lined up a side by side with them, supporting them. And if you cross this person or you come out and try to expose them in some way, then you're going to be the one that looks crazy, and you're going to be the one that looks insane, or you'll lose all your friends, because everybody believes that this person is absolutely wonderful. And so obviously you're the one that must be insane. So the term flying monkeys comes back from the Wizard of Oz, and it was when the Wicked Witch had her flying monkeys on her side. And that's what narcissists do. They all do it. They all try to make you think that they're like so close to all these other people, and so therefore you shouldn't come out and try to say anything bad about this person because everybody else thinks this person is amazing. These are just a few of the things that they do. If this is all sounding all too familiar to you, go ahead and give me a totally in the comments. And if you are dealing with these things with the narcissist, which I'm sure you are, make sure you check out my video on self-care when coping with a narcissist. I will drop a link to that below. You want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself when you're dealing with a narcissist. I'm sure all these things sound really familiar to you, but in the end, okay, great. What can you do about it? So here's the not so secret about narcissists. That is that they are actually the most scaredy cats on the planet. They have no sense of inner value. I've often said they're like the chocolate Easter bunnies that are hollow inside. They have no sense of internal value whatsoever. So they've got to go and get all of their sense of value from the external. And that's what we call narcissist supply. It's in the form of compliments, money, prestige, whatever it is that they can get to get attention for themselves on the external. But the thing is, they're super afraid. So if you push back on them enough, they will back down. So what causes a narcissist to panic, to feel stunned? Number one, brutal honesty. They expect, because they're pathological liars, that most people lie too. They really just expect that everybody else is just as bad as they are. They don't understand what it's like to be a normal person. They've never been one, so they don't get that. They don't get that people out there actually have integrity. They understand the concept of it, but they just really don't believe that anybody else has it. So if you're just brutally honest with them, it kind of stuns them and they're not exactly sure what to do with that. So for example, like if they, a covert narcissist is all often sick. That's one of the things that they do. They have this whole shtick that they're unwell in some way, they can't work or whatever it is. There's always some reason to feel sorry for the covert narcissist. And so, if one day they're super sick and then the next day they show up at something fun, something that they want to actually be involved in, because of course they don't want to miss out on getting attention for themselves, just without any kind of sarcasm or attitude or whatever, just say, "Oh, I'm so surprised that you're here. You said you were so sick yesterday." And you have to be careful, because if you say with any kind of tone whatsoever, they're like super sensitive. They can, they can sense it no matter what level of sarcasm it is. They'll feel it, they'll sense it. Even if it's not there, they might think it's there. So just make sure you're really saying it like as if you're reporting the news. I always say, like, just the facts, ma'am, right? Just, "Oh, I'm surprised you're here. You said you were so sick yesterday." They won't know what to do with that. So brutal honesty is number one. Okay, number two is pushing back. This is something that they don't expect, especially if you are used to giving in and acquiescing to whatever it is that they want. They will be really surprised, and it will make them panic if you push back against them. If they start to realize this person they thought they had total control over is no longer listening to everything that they do or doing everything that they say or buying into everything that they're selling, it will stun them and it will start to panic them a little bit, because they'll be going, "What's going on here? Why is this person pushing back against me?" Something like that. Okay. So that's number two. Okay. And number three is exposing them. They do not want to be exposed for any reason whatsoever. If you really want to throw a narcissist into panic mode, let them think that they're going to be exposed, or actually expose them. If they're flying monkeys, find out who they really are. Or if somebody that they respect gets to see some side of them that they don't want seen, then that's a really huge way to make a narcissist panic. So for example, in a mediation situation, if you know something about the narcissist that they don't want the other side to know, you might subtly say, like, that fact is going to come out. In my world, it could be that the person has a sexually transmitted disease and they are a doctor in the community. They probably don't want the world to know that. So especially if they got it by cheating on you and everything else. So sometimes, not going to court can be a huge motivator for a narcissist. It can really make them panic if they think that, the world is going to see things about them that they have taken painstaking efforts to hide and make sure nobody else knows. So number three is exposing them. Okay, and number four is losing control in any way. So remember what we talked about, that they're the most scared people on the planet. They're really like the bullies, you know how in A Christmas Story, that old movie, that, the little boy fought back against the bully and then the bully ended up running away. You're really just figuring out what their level is. And they're doing the same thing to you, by the way. So every time you push back a little bit against them, they'll act up even more. They'll do more of their lying, more of their control tactics, more of their intimidation, more of their narcissistic rage. It will spurn them because they'll think, okay, I just need to clamp down a little bit harder against this person so that they'll behave and get back under my layer of control. Or they might start love bombing again and then devaluing, love bomb, devalue. They'll start, doing this campaign of love bombing again because they're trying to get you back into their layer of control. They're panicking. So losing control is something that really sends them into a tizzy. The reason they do all the things that they do, gaslighting, manipulation, lying, all the things that I talked about at the beginning of this video, is because they're trying to assert control over you because they are so insecure underneath. And the way that you can make them panic is by having them lose some of that control. And, just like if you have a 2-year-old that has a tantrum, they're conditioning the parents. It's like, okay, if I scream loud enough, if I have enough of a tantrum here, if I cry loud enough, then mommy and daddy will give me what I want. And if you give in, as a parent to that child, then they'll know next time I just need to scream louder, I just need to scream longer, and eventually they'll give in to what I want. So what the narcissist is doing is trying to figure out at what level do I need to act at to get this person back into my layer of control. And if give into that, then they know I just need to be that much louder, that much more awful next time in order to get this person to come back to my layer of control. So if you really want to make a narcissist panic, let them realize that you're no longer buying in to that stuff. When they start losing control, that's when they super panic. If you want to know when the narcissist knows that they have lost, not a pretty sight, I'll tell you that right now, because they feel totally empty inside. And so they're constantly trying to make themselves look like the winner. And with narcissists, everything is black and white. The world is divided into winners and losers and the best and the worst. And people are either fantastic or crap. And so with them, you're either for them or against them. And if you're against them, then you become public enemy number one. They have to take you down. They have to make sure that they go after you, and they want to make sure that they get you before you get them, because you're no longer going to be a source of supply for them. And so they want to make sure they make you look bad before you have a chance to make them look bad. And so it's all this game all the time. And especially because it's a survival thing for them. They feel like if they give at all, that somehow they won't be seen, that somehow they will disappear, that somehow they can't breathe or something. Even giving anything at all means that they cease to exist in some way. Something broke within them when they were children, that they were traumatized in some way. And so it's all a game constantly with them. So they realize that the jig is up when they are no longer that center of attention, because they're trying to be the center of attention. Now, there's different types of narcissists. There's that overt type of narcissist that's out there telling everybody how great they are, demanding. This is the person that, the minute they're in the room, they're holding court. They expect the best tables in the restaurants. They're telling everybody how great they are. They have no problem with all of this. Whereas more the covert narcissist is more the woe is me, I'm the victim, I can never get what I want, I'm the sickly one, nobody ever pays attention to me, people are always horrible to me. They're more like the downtrodden victim sort of one. whereas the overt narcissist is more the out there one. So either way, they're still trying to get attention for themselves. And so when one of the ways that they know that they're losing or that they have lost is that they're no longer getting that attention, right? And so that's number one. Number two is they're realizing that people are starting to speak ill of them. They're realizing that they're hearing people talk badly about them, or especially when their flying monkeys are talking badly about them, the people that they've lined up. Flying monkeys is a reference to the Wizard of Oz. These people that have no thought. They're just lined up on their side. Number three is people in their lives have started to ignore them or walk away when they approach, or they're being ignored by their partner or their friends or their family. It doesn't happen immediately, but they start to lose control. And I have a whole video on signs a narcissist is losing control, and you can definitely check that out. Number three is like their partner is like actually openly hostile to them right in front of other people. That's not a good sign, right? And they start to realize that nobody wants to be around them because they're just so self-centered and arrogant, and they start to realize that nobody wants to be around them. People aren't believing their lies. They're realizing that nobody is believing their lies anymore, and they're being exposed. I mean, when they have been exposed, that's when they've really, really lost. And that's what I teach. I teach how to create that strategy, create that leverage so that they potentially feel like they could get exposed, because exposure is when they really feel like they've lost. And that's what they definitely don't want more than anything. And so that's where your real leverage comes in. And I can teach you so much more about that in the Slave program. And that's the kind of thing that you need. So, but the thing is, if you expose them, that's when they really feel like they've lost. So I want you to put expose them in the comments right now. So start with my free Crush My Negotiation prep worksheet for sure at winmynegotiation.com. You can grab that and join my free private Facebook group, Narcissist Negotiators with Rebecca Zung. And just remember, never give in and never give up, because they definitely win if you give up, right? So don't give up. You know by now that you're dealing with a narcissist, you're in this relationship with a narcissist, and you're thinking, how the heck do I get out of this relationship? How do I end it? How do I move forward? So I hear from people all day long, thousands of you from all over the world who have asked me, how do I get out of these relationships? What do I do next? I'm scared. This person has set up this situation where they're in control, and they have you feeling and believing and in a situation where you think, if I ever try to leave this person, it's going to be pure hell. Let me tell you, it is. I can't sugarcoat that. And if I sat here and told you it's not going to be hell to get out of it, then I would be lying to you, and that's not what I do here. So, but what I can tell you is that I've helped many, many people get through this and get to the other side, and it is better, and you can move on, and it is a better life on the other side, despite what they may say. They may even say to you, you'll be nothing without them. That's not true. So that's what I'm doing here on this channel and with the work that I do. And I promise you it will get better on the other side of this crazy thing. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, remember that you're dealing with a personality type that has no inner sense of value. They have to derive all of their value from the external in the form of what we call narcissistic supply. And if you want to know more about narcissistic supply, check out my Narcissism 101 video called Narcissistic Supply so that you can understand more of what it is. But basically, it's anything that feeds a narcissist's ego. And if they see that supply source walking out the door, then they're going to go crazy. It's sort of like a 2-year-old who's having a tantrum. If the 2-year-old wants to get something from the parents, they may fall to the floor, they may cry, they may scream, they may rage, they may throw things, they may do all these things. And what the 2-year-old is doing is basically testing the parents and conditioning them to see, if I scream and if I do these things, are you going to give me what I want? And if the parents give into that child, then they know for next time, all I have to do is scream louder, scream longer, scream harder, throw things, completely embarrass them, make their lives miserable, and they'll just give in. So that's what you're going to start seeing with this narcissist. You're going to see where you actually trigger that narcissistic rage is going to come out, and things will probably get worse before they get better. But narcissists are always the worst right before they're ready to give up. So never forget that. Okay, so when you go to end this relationship, you have to be extremely careful, extremely purposeful, and deliberate, and have a plan of action when you go to end the relationship that will actually make sure that you do the things that you need to do to get where you need to go. Number one, don't give them one more chance. Not verbally, not internally. They've had their chance. You've given them the options over and over and over again on how to correct their behavior. They can't, they won't, and don't give them one more chance. Just decide and move on. Number two, when you decide to leave them, don't tell them, don't share it with them, just move on. You're going to create your plan for getting out, and you're not going to share any of it with them. Don't say, I'm leaving you, I'm getting ready to leave you, nothing like that. Just create the plan and then execute on it. They will do everything they can to make this a living hell for you, and they may even try to thwart your efforts to leave. So they may try to foil your plans, they may try to love bomb you, guilt you, play the victim, all of these different things. And if it's already been a hard decision for you to come to, then you could get sucked back into that. So don't tell them about your plan. The other thing that they might try to do is intimidate you, devalue you, cause fear inside of you. If you leave, this is what's going to happen. Or they may just decide that they're going to discard you first, beat you to it, make it worse for you, something like that. So do not tell them that you are leaving. Number three is make a copy of all of the important documents that you're going to need, financial or otherwise. It's really important if you can to make a copy or take a picture of these documents, because if you take the documents and they find out that you took them, then that'll be something that they can use against you. Oh, she took everything out of the home, and they'll turn it into something much bigger and much worse. They stole money, blah, blah, blah. So just make sure that you have copies or take pictures of the documents that you're going to need, financials such as tax returns and bank statements, credit card statements, deeds, any prenuptial agreements, things of that nature. Number four, I talk about this in my other videos. Before you leave a narcissist, watch this is one of them. But one of the things you're going to want to do is have a stash of cash. You're going to want to have at least 3 months worth, so that your lawyer will have an opportunity to set a hearing and get you temporary support if you are the non-moneyed spouse. And you're also going to want to have enough to hire a lawyer. Number four is, if you are in an abusive situation, report what has happened to you. Report it to your therapist, report it to your clergyman, report it to the police, whoever you need to, especially if it's been physical abuse or sexual abuse or anything like that. You can always go to a domestic violence shelter as well, but don't be silent about it. There are resources out there for you, and we will actually drop a link and the phone number to the domestic violence hotline, the National Domestic Violence Hotline, so that you can call that if you feel that your life is in danger. Number five is change your passwords and log out of all of your devices before you leave anywhere. And make sure that you've logged out of all of the clouds as well. I've had clients who've had that situation where they didn't realize that the iPad that was left at home was connected to the cloud, and now the spouse was reading all of their emails and seeing all of their text messages and things like that. So change your passwords on all of your devices, and including passwords to social media accounts and things like that. And also, block them, get them off of your social media. And they're flying monkeys as well. Think about their minions as well. So making sure that you also have a secure email. That is how you and your attorney are going to be communicating with each other. So you need to have a secure email to be able to do that. Number 7 is check your devices for trackers, or your vehicles for trackers. Make sure that nothing has been put onto your car, especially if you're dealing with a malignant narcissist. If you want to know more about malignant narcissists, they are the most dangerous form of narcissist. Check out my video on a malignant narcissist, but they do have a tendency to track the people that they're dealing with. They stalk them. They have a proclivity for stalking. So make sure to check your vehicle for any tracking devices. Number 8 is don't give in to their flattery or their love bombing. They may start to do the things that they did to get you into their web of control in the first place, like love bombing you. And if you want to know more about love bombing, check out my video on love bombing. But they may start doing that. Don't listen to it. Close your ears. It's a trick. It's a way to kind of suck you back in. Sometimes it's called hoovering. And it's really just a manipulation method to get you back into their web of control. Number 9 is reconnect with family and friends. You are going to need a support system as you go through this. So reconnect with the people that mean the most to you, who love you, who will believe you, who will support you. And also, seek out therapists, seek out somebody that you can talk to about this who's a neutral third party, maybe even a clergyman or somebody at your church or synagogue or something like that, so that you will have a support system in place as you go through this. Number 10, similarly, the opposite side of this is disconnect from anybody who's toxic, anybody who's not going to be helpful, anybody who's not going to be on your side, who's going to judge you or make you feel worse or make you feel like a failure. You don't need that in your life. Number 11 is stay away upon leaving. Once you have left, stay away. Don't fall prey to going back or even just to have a conversation or anything like that. Just, stay firm in your decision and stay strong in your decision once you've made that decision. Next is learn about narcissism. Use the resources that are out there, including this channel, including the other channels that are out there on YouTube, which have amazing resources. Dr. Ramani has great resources, and she's a psychologist. There are several others out there like her, Melanie Tanya Evans, Tracy Malone, of Narcissist Abuse Support. There are lots of us out there that are providing resources around narcissism. Kim Saeed is another one. And I've actually partnered with all of these people in various times, and we've done videos together. And the reason why we do these videos together is because we each bring different perspective, more information. And at this time, you really want to learn about what it is that you need to do. Here on my channel, I teach you about narcissists because it's really important for you to understand the pathology of narcissism and the psychology of narcissism just enough to know what you need to do to negotiate with them and get out of this relationship with them in a way that leaves you as unscathed as possible and helps you come to a fair resolution. And if you are so ready to delete that toxicity and move forward with your life, give me an I'm ready in the comments. The next thing that you can do is go easy on yourself. Go slowly. Forgive yourself. you did what you did and you made the decisions that you made in the moment. And remember that these people are master manipulators. They've been manipulating their whole entire lives. Don't beat yourself up over the fact that you were in that relationship. It happened. You learned from it, you're moving on now, and that's the most important thing. So forgive yourself. I also do have a video on self-care to cope with a narcissist, and you might want to check that one out as well. But the most important thing is that take care of yourself, go easy on yourself, go slowly, it's okay. And don't even beat yourself up over if you end up doing some of these things I'm saying not to do. If you end up talking to the person, if you end up, it's okay. Just forgive yourself. Understand that you're going to be going through the stages of grief. This is the end of a relationship. This is the end of a dream. It's the end of what you thought was happening. It's the end of what you thought your future was going to be. So you will be going through those 5 stages of grief, and you will eventually heal. You will eventually get to the other side, and it will be better. So let's talk about whether a narcissist misses you or feels regret after you leave. It's just an interesting sort of thing, because you leave a narcissist and you're done with the relationship and you're on the other side of it. You finally got away and you're left wondering, what are they thinking? I mean, and if you really want to know more about what a narcissist is feeling when they realize that life totally sucks without you, by the way, I have a whole video on that. You can definitely check out my video on that topic. But you have to really understand that a narcissist's personality is governed primarily by, like, everything is filtered through themselves. They really are like 2-year-olds stuck in an adult body. They haven't like evolved. Somehow they got stuck. They're like arrested development, and they can't see beyond themselves. And so they, it's scarcity mentality to the extreme. They don't really have a sense of self. And so they can only kind of see themselves. They don't really miss you necessarily as a person. They miss the idea of you. They miss what you did for them. They miss the state of you being around them. They don't necessarily miss you as a person, and they certainly aren't sorry for what they did necessarily. They don't have the capacity or the ability to feel like genuine regret, genuine shame, genuine feeling of sorrow for what they may have done to you, like really being sorry. They just don't have that feeling of remorse, like if they might have cheated on you, or if they might have been hurtful to you in some way. They don't go, wow, I really damaged them. I really am sorry for hurting them, or the pain that I may have caused that other person. They don't have the ability to feel that. They may regret the fact that they don't have you anymore, that you don't exist in their world, but it's more like because they don't have you, but not because of what they did to you. So, they lost their narcissistic supply, so it's really from their own filter, from their own self. So no, they can't truly miss you in the sense that you want them to miss you, or as you and I may want to understand that term. They certainly don't feel like the same maybe guilt that you and I might feel. They just don't have that same sort of feeling of guilt, or hurt or pain. It's really not insofar as because they can only feel it within themselves. It's not what they can feel necessarily as far as on your side of the equation. It's only on their side of the equation. Because remember that they only can feel their own pain. The way I look at it is it's almost like as if a person is in, they're starving and, they're just looking for food and they just, they can only think about their own starvation and they can't think about anybody else's starvation or anybody else needing food. Or it's like if you have a really horrible toothache, all they can think about is their own pain at that moment. They can't think about anybody else's pain. It really is scarcity mentality to the extreme. And that's kind of how they are. I mean, that's why they don't even want to give anybody anything, even the smallest little things. They just don't want to give up. And so when that other person is gone, it's really more like they think of you as a possession. And so they miss the possession, but they don't miss you as the person. It's like they miss the jars of cans of something that's lined up on the shelf, but they don't miss you as the person. They miss the possession. They miss the thing being in their lives. They miss what you could do for them. They certainly miss what you were doing for them, but they don't miss you necessarily as the person. And so understanding that, I think, should certainly help you. Because they certainly don't feel regret. They certainly don't feel that guilt. They certainly don't feel sorry for what they may have done to you. I think that's really helpful, especially in negotiations as well. I mean, a lot of times people in negotiations, what I've seen, especially, you empaths out there, you think, oh, I don't want to hurt them. I'll give this up. If I do this, if I give this, they'll see how good I'm being. They'll see that I'm being fair. I don't care about that. They'll just take it. They'll just take it. And then they'll just like, whatever. And they'll just keep moving on from there. They don't go, oh, they already gave me this piece, so I'll give this piece. No, they just take that and that's it. So that now you've already given up something and that's that. So you don't want to do that in a negotiation. They don't feel any sense of regret or shame or guilt or anything like that. So that's just to move on.
What to say to shut down that narcissist in your life. So remember that a narcissist wants to control you. That's how they get their feeling of narcissistic supply. That's what feeds them is, controlling you, intimidating you, making you feel awful, debasing you, sending you into a panic. And if you want to know how to make a narcissist panic, you should definitely check out my video on how to make a narcissist panic. They want to send you into that state of panic. They want you to be the one who's like on the defensive all the time. And I help people negotiate with narcissists, negotiate with toxic personalities, get the edge, get that leverage, figure out how to finally turn those tables, how to finally shift that dynamic, and so that you're the one feeling powerful, because they want you to feel like you can never win. They want you to feel like it's never going to end. And they will continue to do that as long as they're getting some sort of narcissistic supply, which is, that smug satisfaction that they're controlling you and getting the edge over you. They're going to continue to be in your life. And that's why some of you have been dealing with these people for years. And, they collect people as forms of supply, like people collect jars of jam or something for the winter. They line them up on the shelves and go, oh, I can get more supply out of this one. I can get more supply out of that one. So as long as they're getting some form of narcissistic supply from you, you're going to continue to have to deal with them. It's like taking that fire and sucking all the oxygen away from it. That's the only way that you'll finally be able to shut them down. So the first way that you can shut down that narcissist is to just say no. And if you want to know more about what happens when you say no to the narcissist, you should definitely check out my video on what happens when you say no to a narcissist, when you just say no. What happens is that the narcissist is so used to controlling you. They've set up this elaborate situation where you feel powerless, where you feel like, oh, I can't ever, get away from this. And it's almost so foreign to you. It's like putting on somebody else's clothes or somebody else's shoes. You're thinking, ugh, this seems so strange to me. What's going to happen? Is the world going to fall apart? Are they going to lose control on me? And if you want to know what happens when a narcissist loses control, check out my video on that. But when you say no to a narcissist, it's you starting to take back your power. It's you starting to say, you know what? This is not okay. I'm going to say no. I'm not going to do that thing that you think that I should do. I'm not going to be that person that you think that I should be. I'm not going to take the deal that you're offering me. I'm not going to take the settlement proposal. I'm going to fight back. I'm going to push back. I'm going to go for what I want. And yeah, maybe there might be some backlash from it, but even if you trigger their narcissistic rage because you've touched on their narcissistic injury in some way, just remember that the narcissist is always the worst right before they're ready to give up. So just keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. The narcissist is one of the most scared little people on the planet. The not so secret is that you are actually the stronger one. They didn't attach themselves to you because you had no value. They attached themselves to you because you have so much value, because they can get that narcissistic supply from you. So try out just saying no to them for one or two things and see how it goes. The second thing is, I hear you. All people want to feel seen, heard, and know that they matter. And I talk about that in my book, Negotiate Like You Matter. It's actually in my book. Matter is the acronym for how to negotiate, and M actually stands for my value is defined by me. You and you alone define your value. We all want to know that we matter. That's all part of being human. And, in some ways we all have like a narcissist in us, but it's not, we don't use that word, because what narcissism really is when it gets to the pathological stage where they can't see anybody but themselves, and they can't feel anything for anyone but themselves, and so they're just constantly doing whatever they can to feel that. So if you say, I hear you, it actually kind of softens them a little bit, and they stop like barking right at you and going right after you, because they feel seen, heard, and they know that they matter. Sometimes it's called narcissistic fluffing, where you fluff up their ego a little bit. You can give them a little compliment or something just to get what you want in exchange for something. But just saying, I hear you, that will help to shut them down. The next thing is saying, I trust you, or I trust that. And it's kind of like what I talk about in my book, which is embedded commands, where you're basically kind of telling them how you feel. I trust that you care about the children. I trust that you want a good settlement. This is all part of what I talk about with ethically manipulating the manipulator. That's a really, really important part of how you get to slaying the narcissist in negotiation. And I talk about my slay methodology in my program, which is slay your negotiation with a narcissist. So strategy, leverage, anticipate, and focus on you. But when you say, I trust you, or I trust that, you're kind of like putting thoughts out there that they can't disagree with. So it helps to shut them down. The next one is say nothing. Just continue to look at them. Let them rant, let them rave. Just, put yourself in a situation as if you're watching it in a movie, or you're watching a scene on a stage in a play, or you're watching a 2-year-old have a tantrum on the floor. You're just going, okay, I'm watching you, so you don't say anything. And saying nothing just absolutely drives them crazy, and it helps to shut them down because eventually there's nothing to fight with. There's no bait. There's nothing more that they can use. And, sometimes it takes a tremendous amount of restraint to do this, but just try it out and see what happens. Just say nothing. And if you are so ready to shut down that narcissist, give me a shut them down in the comments right now. The next one is everything is okay. This, makes them feel like, hey, we're in this together. We're going to figure this out together. It's all right. I mean, you're sort of treating them like a toddler because they really are like toddlers. They kind of never really grew out of that stage of, the toddler's creed. What's mine is mine. What's yours is mine. Everything is mine. If I want it, it's mine. If, even if I threw it away, it's still mine. But, that's the old toddler's creed. In this instance, you're just sort of saying, it's okay. Everything's okay. We'll figure this out. You can just calm down, and that's, again, you're not giving them anything to push back on. How can they argue with that? And the last one is my absolute favorite, which is, drum roll please, no contact. Get rid of them. Out. Goodbye. Bye, Felicia. See you later. Hopefully never. Have a nice life, but have it away from me. And that's what I had to do with the narcissists in my life. And thankfully, I haven't had to talk to them for a long time. And hopefully you won't either. Just suck that oxygen away from that fire. Do not give them anything that they can use. Goodbye. Enjoy your life somewhere else away from me. And I have to tell you, from my perspective, what I've had to do as well is stay away from even the people that I know are in those people's lives. It's unfortunate. There were people that I liked. There were people that I would have wanted to stay in touch with, but I cannot have any contact or even contact with their flying monkeys or anyone in their worlds, because my peace of mind, my life is not worth what it would take to be involved with anything to have to do with those narcissists. And I promise you it will get so much better. And I promise you that I've helped so many people get past narcissists by negotiating their way out of those relationships and getting the settlement that you deserve. That's fair. That's equitable. I've been able to turn it around. It's part of karma. It's part of quantum law. You can do this. You can absolutely put your mind to this and get where you want to get. I know that you can. I can help you.
It is so hard to find a great mentor in every aspect of your life for all the different things that you need. I was so excited when I found Masterclass, because you can have the dream mentor in every area of your life. Like somebody like Anna Wintour for me, because she's such a great, effective female leader in the areas of leadership and creativity. But you can find a masterclass in any area of your life, in anything that you want to become the best in, whatever it is that you want to be the best at. Masterclass is the only streaming platform that you can learn and grow in over 200 areas for just $10 a month for an annual membership. You can have unlimited access to whatever instructor you want, and you can even access it on your phone, your computer, your TV, whatever it is that you stream from, right? And the classes make a difference in 88% of the members that access it. So I know I have learned so much myself in being a more effective communicator. Plus, every membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Don't wait another moment for your learning journey. Just go ahead and give Masterclass a try, because right now our listeners, our viewers, get an additional 15% off any annual membership. at masterclass.com/negotiate. That's 15% off any masterclass at masterclass.com/negotiate.